Today's video, we're going to talk about PPC versus conversion rate optimization, which is best to spend your money on first. What I'm referring to here is should I focus on my traffic source, refining which keywords my ads show up for or audience that my ads show up for? Or should I advertise here versus here? Or should I invest into conversion rate optimization, making better landing pages, coming up with landing pages if I'm not using them yet, updating my website itself to make it convert better? This is always the conundrum that people always have to kind of go through and ask themselves as they are trying to scale up to millions of dollars a year running ads for their business. And the answer to that question, CRO versus PPC, or doing conversion rate optimization versus optimizing your ads purely by itself, comes down to timing. There are certain times that doing this CRO is going to be the better option for you because it's going to give you more impact per dollar spent. And there's times where the PPC should absolutely be your focus and where your money that you have now to get you to the next level should be placed. And I'm going to explain the timing on things, on how I do it at our advertising firm. So we're always going to have the most ideal place to put our next 10, 20, 30% investment of marketing funds to walk up the sales predictably for our companies that we're working for. And for that matter, I'm going to have a case study for you here where we talk about specifically how much of a difference conversion rate optimization is going to have on the results and how we went ahead and did it. I will go through what those numbers are in terms of the difference in the marketing efficiency ratio or ROI or our campaigns before and after doing CRO, when we did it, how we did it, and our increase in year-over-year results. I'm also going to go over what the typical results will be in your case, going into using more definition on your landing pages. So if you're not using landing pages, how much that'll affect your conversion rate and when you actually go ahead and do it, which you should always do. Or if you're doing and using a couple landing pages, going ahead and making more, how much of that is going to affect your overall profitability from ads, given it always does. I'm going to go over the details on that. For that matter, here's your basic process that you should go through, that I go through as well, when deciding when is it time to focus on PPC versus CRO. So number one, set up a tight campaign right from the start. Of course, you don't have to focus on PPC as much if you start out with the right foundation. You don't just lazily target broad match keywords. You use exact match keywords, for instance. Instead of showing up for everything underneath the sun, you're showing up for the right stuff that you should show up for. Or even if you're running a Facebook campaign, doing a 1x lookalike campaign versus a 3x or 10x campaign. Because you're so ambitious to get things started quickly, you actually end up running inefficient. And you're not showing up for your key core audience that would probably buy. And as a result of that, you're not profitable. So that when you launch your campaign, you really have to focus on drilling down the campaign. Whereas before you even launch that campaign, if you did your research on your market and you found out what age your users are, what gender they are, what income they have, what interests they have, what hobbies they have, proclivities that they have, and you work that into your campaign right away, when you launch your campaign, you wouldn't have to really do much filtering, given that at the end of the day, what makes money with PPC is advertising and then using the data you have coming in that tells you what works and what doesn't work to get down to the 10 or 20% that really works the best. And that's where your profitability typically is. Do the proper groundwork and research to find out who buys. Then set up your campaign targeting only them. And you're not going to have to go through all this work to hurry up and make your campaigns efficient when you eventually launch. Also, using landing pages when you're starting out and not just speaking to everybody the same way. So if somebody's looking for air conditioning installation services, you're not talking to them and saying, we're an HVAC company. You're saying we offer air conditioning installation services. And because you're talking to your direct audience that you want to go after on their level, you're also not going to have to really focus on how do I make my site convert, because we're being so specific in how we're communicating to them based on what we know that they're interested in. We don't have to really sweat it on that side of things as well. Knowing who to target, and then based upon knowing who those people are that are searching or seeing our ad, and then being able to speak to them on their individual level, you actually start out with the firm foundation that you need. That is, your ads are refined and you're saying the right things on your website. You probably will start making money fairly quickly. And of course, in addition to that, always have your tracking set up the right way at the beginning. When you do start advertising and it's not working right away and you got to focus on your PPC strategy and refinement of your PPC ads, you know exactly what to cut out and what to leave. People will typically do is wait till later to set up their tracking, of which they've wasted all this ad money when they could have, at least if their ads weren't going to work at day 90, they knew what to cut out so their ads would be profitable. So when you do all this research to know what to target, who to target, and then speak to them on their level and then have the tracking set up, you're going to probably be profitable right away. And if you're not quite there, you're going to be able to easily have the data to know how to make it profitable. And that's how you typically want to go, just starting out or going into the process of trying to scale up a multi-million-dollar ad campaign for your business. Once you've got that done and out of the way, you've launched, you're going to weed out the segments that don't convert and that have high bounce rates. Again, like I mentioned before, you try to do research on your market to know the genders, the ages, whether somebody's from the city or country, whatever, that typically leads to a sale. And then you launch with just that. But no matter how good of research you do, you're still not going to know it completely. And you advertise, and with your tracking, you'll see which ones do convert, which ones don't, which devices convert, which ones don't, and then you'll drill that down. And that's the first thing I'm always going to do before I worry about modifying my landing pages and doing conversion rate optimization on my website. However, I'm also, at least as it comes to tracking my website performance, I'm going to check my bounce rates on my site. And if the bounce rates are super high, indicating a lot of people going to the site and leaving right away, I know I've got to hurry up and make my website better. Otherwise, the ad campaign doesn't have a single hope to make any money at the end of the day, no matter what I do with the PPC side of things. A good landing page should have, at least from Google search ads, a 40 to 60% bounce rate if you're going to be typically able to make money. And if you're running display ads, it might be upwards of 80%, but it certainly shouldn't be above that. The same thing with Facebook ads, all the rest of it. If you're above 80%, then now you know you got to work on that right away instead of focusing on the PPC traffic and refining that in and itself. And then with that said, you're going to look at all the available dimensions in your ad account to see, again, the age, genders and stuff like that, that convert versus don't convert. And then right away, as quickly as you can, shut off the ones that don't so that your ads are going to be fairly efficient. And you got to do that before you do any kind of work on your website and making it convert better, because if you have the wrong people going to the website, you're not going to know what to correct because you don't have the right people going to the website. Better to focus on PPC initially because of that. You also want to check your search terms report if you're doing search ads so you know the right people are, again, getting to your website, because there's no point in optimizing your website until you know the right people are getting to the website. That always comes first in general, and just know that going in. From there, how immediate of a decision for your customers is it for what you're buying? And what is the price point? Ultimately, the reason for this is because you gotta basically know also how well your website or landing page should and is supposed to convert, to know if you need to do any work short term on your website to make it convert better, or longer term and it's a lesser priority, like a nice to have versus a need to have. If it's something they have to make a decision on right away, your conversion rates to a sale should be much higher than what it would be otherwise. If somebody's looking to buy a water filter, they don't really need to buy one now. Your conversion rates are going to be lower versus somebody who needs a moving company, which most people that are searching for that need somebody now. And so your conversion rates are going to be higher for a moving company than the water filter company. And then also the price, of course. If you're selling a $2,000 water filter, your conversion rates are going to be less than somebody selling a $50 water filter, because it's less of a decision that needs to go on in the user's mind, and then there's less research that needs to go on. So that'll affect what is a normal conversion rate for you to be able to tell, is your page good enough to where I should be focusing on PPC and refining the traffic before I refine my landing page. You also can look up industry-related numbers and trends in your space to compare to what you're getting and see if you should stop what you're doing and optimizing your PPC ads to optimize your landing page. With that said, you just type into Google, typical conversion rates for moving company, typical conversion rates for water filter company. And you may not get it for your industry, but at least you could try to get that information. And if you're getting less than half of what you should be getting, then you should basically come up with either landing pages, ideally, or make a better landing page. Because at that point in time, that's a big red flag that says, hey, you should be doing more with your website right now and stop focusing on filtering the traffic and focus on the landing page first, because the traffic, if you try to focus on filtering the traffic when your landing page is not nearly good enough, and it's doing half or less than what the typical industry conversion rate is going to be for your niche, then all you're going to do is you're going to filter out most of all the traffic in your space, and you're going to be left with a campaign that basically has no traffic left. So you have to more so focus on the landing page in that case, or the website if you're sending traffic to a website, of course, first, before you go the rest of the way optimizing the traffic stream itself. For instance, in the home remodeling space, the average conversion rate is going to be about 3%. If you were at 1.5% or less, stop what you're doing trying to refine your PPC ads, figure out what you need to do to make your website convert better. And that means if you're not using landing pages, use them so you can control the experience that the user has after they click on your ads. Or if you got landing pages, figure out how to make it better. Generally speaking, the better the landing page designer with the more experience that you hire, the better your conversion rates are going to be. Landing pages seem simple to the layman. They don't understand the intricacies of it. It's really an art form to make a landing page convert users at a high rate. It takes a lot of years to figure it out, and these people are super high in demand because they literally print cash for companies that have this skill. First of all, you need somebody who makes landing pages for a living. So they don't just do that plus a bunch of other things and have made a few landing pages. No, you want the guy who's made 100 because they know actually what's going on. You wouldn't hire a plumber to fix a toilet that has fixed 2 toilets in his life. Like, it doesn't make any logical sense there, but people think they can hire a web designer to make them a landing page. That's what they mostly want to believe because they don't want to pay several grand for a single landing page that presumably may or may not work, when really it's, thinking that way is stupid, because it's like, well, I could hire this employee and I could pay him a lot of money, but it could not work. So I'm going to hire a shitty employee because at least I know what I get there. And that's just loser mentality, ultimately. Good landing pages, you get what you pay for. People that know how to make them and know how to make high conversion rates from landing pages, they charge a lot. They know what they're worth. You got to find the person that has the skill. You're not getting the conversion rate. The easiest thing to do is hire that person who has all the experience and has all the history and can prove pages that they've made. And then now you've got something. And generally speaking, it's going to be at least 3 grand for a landing page. If you're in like a SaaS space, it can be 15, 20 grand for a landing page. To actually be competitive in that space, to get the conversion rates, you need to be competitive in that space. And of course, the more competition you have, the more you're going to have to pay for the landing page, the more expensive it's going to be. So you don't have to do better than your competition by 100-fold, but you should at least be twice as good as your competition as your goal. And that may cost you, and having to hire somebody that charges 3 grand versus 6 grand based upon the level of competition in your space. To sum it up here, you got to know roughly what conversion rate you should be getting. And if you're not getting it, you need to put your money where your mouth is and hire the person who actually knows how to do it. It's tempting, I know, for people to just want to do their own landing pages. If you don't know how to make landing pages, I promise you're not going to get a conversion rate that somebody who knows how to make landing pages is going to get. Bottom line don't do it yourself. It's not one of those things you're going to actually save money doing yourself. You want to do something else yourself, pick something else in your business, ultimately. Then, after you've hired somebody to make a landing page or a better landing page, if your conversion rate still isn't half, what is normal for your industry, you just simply have to try again. The average person who hires somebody to make a landing page is not going to admit to themselves that it's going to be expensive, and then they try to cheap it, and then they don't get the result that they want. Because you paid for a landing page doesn't mean landing page designers don't work. It just simply means you did not hire the right one. And I'll tell you from experience, for every 10 people who say they can do it, 1 actually can. And that's just the reality. And that part of that is just because people want money and they're willing to tell you anything in order to get your money. And that's the marketing world in general as well, especially with landing page designers. You just got to keep going until you find somebody who knows how to get you a conversion rate that's at least as good as what you should be getting for your industry. And that's it. Once you've done that and you've got a landing page that's at least as good as what other people in the market that you're in are getting, then you can finish your PPC optimization. You're going to finish streamlining all your PPC traffic, get the right people to the site, because you could do the finishing of the optimization on the traffic side when you know the page is going to convert well enough, because you're not going to then cut your traffic down to almost nothing at that point in time. Then finally, you can hire a conversion rate optimization person to really put things over the top for yourself that'll optimize your website, your landing pages, and specifically, when we're talking about CRO or conversion rate optimization, we're talking about micro optimization. Are we using blue versus red? are we using ultimately, instead of text heavy landing page, maybe we use more images, or instead of having a light box for the contact form, we're going to have the form on the page itself. It's things that somebody who just does conversion rate optimization, these little tricks, they're going to know about them. I know a lot about what these tricks are, even though I don't specialize in it. But there's firms out there who just do conversion rate optimization and they know these tricks, and then you can hire them and they're going to mostly get you higher conversion rates. The question is just how much. Yes, it's not cheap, several grand a month just for them to run split tests on your website. But literally speaking, they can literally set up your website to where across the top part of your website, it can have, let's say, made in the USA, whereas before you didn't have it, and literally 50% of the traffic that hits your site will see that, half of them won't, and it'll spit out what your conversion rate on your website is with and without that element there. And they'll go ahead and do different testing like that on an ongoing basis. And that's how you get the most out of your PPC campaigns, because your PPC campaigns are already refined for the most part. You're getting the right people into the site, and now you're just doing micro optimization on the website to make sure that you get the maximum percentage of those people to buy. That, in a nutshell, is pretty much the process that I go through every time. At the very beginning, to sum this up, you're going to try to set up the best, tightest campaign you can. And for what you can't, you're going to right away start shutting off traffic segments on different levels, device, age, stuff like that. And you're going to then, from there, check and make sure your bounce rates are on point. If they aren't, you got to make landing pages. You got to make more landing pages. And I'm going to talk about the so-called more landing page strategy here in a second. And you got to get that fixed right away. And then you got to, secondarily to that, figure out if your conversion rates are where they need to be for the price of what you're selling is in your market, how quickly people make a decision, and what's typical for your market. And if you, by the way, don't know what your conversion rate should be in your market for your price point that you're selling at, leave me a comment below and I'll tell you roughly, based on my experience doing this for hundreds of companies, where you should basically be at. But if you're not getting close to what you need to be getting as far as the conversion rate, you need to stop all your PPC optimization shenanigans and just optimize the website until you get that right. Because if you don't get that right, it's going to be extremely hard to make money from any PPC campaign you have, because in a competitive market, your competition can outbid you for the clicks, and you're just going to end up with no clicks left. So you got to get that fixed up front. And then once you do that, though, and your landing page / website does convert as good as the competition, you could then optimize your PPC traffic to get rid of the fringe segments that basically just don't work quite well enough, maximize the ones that do by reallocating the budget, and then finally finishing off everything by you doing micro optimization on your website, not just making a better landing page, but testing individual elements on your landing page or individual elements on your website, max everything out for your brand on the PPC campaigns that you built beforehand. And that's pretty much it. What I will tell you is, in terms of conversion rate optimization, as a whole, there's a couple main ways that you do this. The first of which is you do individual element testing on your website. So again, instead of, let's say, having a regular form, you have what is called a multi-step form, where the same questions they would fill out on a contact form, but instead of that, you're going to ask them one question, and then after they answer that one question, then they're going to get the second question show up for them, and if they answer that, they get the third question. You can test that versus a regular form, which will typically get a higher conversion rate. Then you're going to test whether you want to have 5 testimonials on your webpage versus 2. Just this little stuff like this. And you're just slowly going to rack up a higher and higher conversion rate from the traffic you got going on. That's one way to increase your conversion rate on your website / landing pages and from the campaigns that you're running. The other of which is you can typically double your conversion rate just adding custom landing pages to your overall mix. And when I say custom, I don't mean just landing pages in general. You can have a landing page for your air conditioning installation company, and then just by making a different landing page for people that want a residential air conditioning installation service versus a commercial installation service, you'll increase your conversion rate, because the people that want commercial are going to right away, when they get to the page, realize you for sure do commercial. You look like you specialize in it, even though you specialize in both residential and commercial, and they're going to convert at a higher rate accordingly. If somebody is looking for the water filter, going back to that, and somebody is searching for a high pH water filter, and they get to a page that says high pH water filter on it and talks about that, versus just the water filter that you sell with all the features mentioned and in no particular order, and without the high pH stuff being emphasized, you're going to have a lower conversion rate every time. Even easier than having to hire a CRO company to test each individual element on your website, or you doing that yourself with a software like Optimizely would be one software that lets you split test your website and have one element there for some people and the element not being there for another person, and then seeing how that affects your conversion rate. You literally could just create different landing pages for different segments of the traffic that you're targeting. Every person who searches for a keyword, they get a custom page. Or every person who searches for your Facebook campaign, males get one page versus females get another page. Given that on the page for the female traffic, having a picture of a female there a lot of times will increase the conversion rate. And so all you do is you sub-segment the traffic that's already working, make landing pages for the different segments, and then your conversion rate to go up. That's a more better / preferred way to go about doing things earlier on in the process because it's very turnkey. I'm going to typically do that first before doing the typical like testing different elements on the website. But also that's partially because I kind of understand what elements a website has to have on it for it to convert well before we kind of get started. And if it doesn't have it, we're going to get it up to standard. But you could go either way, ultimately, one or the other. More landing pages or testing elements on the page. In either case, it's going to increase your conversion rates, but it's not going to matter if your traffic stream dialed in enough and down to the people who actually buy. So you don't have to spend money advertising to the people who don't buy, because every person who sees your ad that doesn't buy chips into or eats into your overall ROI that you're getting from your campaigns. Ultimately, trying to do here is get your traffic stream dialed in fairly well to mostly where it's getting in front of mostly people that would buy or could buy, and then you're going to optimize your website at that point in time. If you haven't really drilled it down most of the way, you're going to focus on drilling down the traffic stream most of the way first. Then you can get into the website conversion rate stuff. Unless or until you know that the bounce rates and conversion rates are so poor that you need to focus on that before you even focus on getting the traffic drilled down itself, because that's the bigger element. Because it doesn't matter how much you drill it down for yourself in terms of the traffic stream, it ain't going to convert no matter what anyway, no matter what you do to drill it down. Now, I'm going to get into a case study here, but before I do, if you have not subscribed to this channel, you absolutely should. I've got the best information you're going to find online about how to make money with PPC ads, step by step. And this is given to you by somebody who spends 40 hours a week doing ad strategy at our advertising firm on dozens of accounts to tell you how to make a multi-million-dollar campaign for your business, running ads on Google, Facebook, so on and so forth. So if you haven't subscribed yet, you should. I've got a great blog on my site as well to go along with this channel that I write and personally upkeep. You can find that at guaranteedppc.com/blog. I should check that out as well. In addition to this, by the way, if you have any questions about anything I'm covering here, you can leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours. You also can reach out to me if you would like through link to my Discord group is in the video description. You also can reach out to me through my site at guaranteedppc.com. You can set up a private coaching or consulting call with me. But I also do full-on done-for-you services where we, of course, going to manage your ads. I do all that strategy on our client accounts directly. And we do not charge unless you get a certain minimum lift in your profitability up front. No other agency out there in this space does anything like, which should tell you something about the quality of services we provide. We also offer ad templates. If you are in a niche market that we've been in already, we could sell you the winning ads and landing pages that work for your market. You copy paste those into your ad account and get the same results that we did in another city or country without having to go through all the work to do all that for yourself. Everything we had to go through to find out what gets results in your niche market already. We've worked in hundreds of niche markets, so the chances are high we've got the template you're looking for and can tell you the results you're going to get with it up front. So if you're interested in that, let me know as well. But going into the case study here, this particular company, we had no CRO services whatsoever. Client's website, as is, was set up by default what they thought a website should have on it. We didn't do any optimization of customer photos, adding those, showing people before and afters of the paint being applied to the company, to the customers' homes and businesses. In addition to that, also mentioning things like reviews, mentioning things like it's a made in the USA product, mentioning and showing video, stuff like this. With that said, we were getting, and this is after years of optimizing the campaign, we're getting a 31% on average year-over-year increase in our sales. And this was going in 5-6 years of optimizing a Google Ads campaign that we were running for the client. itself and scaling it up to several $1,000,000 a year in sales, starting from a company that was only doing a few $100,000 a year itself. And our average marketing efficiency ratio was right around 420% at that time. Once we started to get into just the things that I mentioned, adding those individual elements to the website, our year-over-year increase in sales went up to roughly 45%, and our marketing efficiency ratio, that is the ratio of total sales in the company to ad spend, went up to 514%. As you can see here, just by adding these small individual little elements to our campaigns, once the traffic stream was dialed in already, not only does our ROI go up by 20-30%, but our overall sales go up by a similar amount as well. And that's all we had to do. There's no reason whatsoever in your situation when you are trying to build up a Google Ads, Facebook Ads account for yourself and scale up millions of dollars a year in sales that you shouldn't be doing this conversion rate optimization process, whether you do it or a firm does it, because it will always bring you more results. The question is though, do you know what to put on the site to test? So you aren't just testing random stuff, and for every 10 tests that you set up, you get one winner. Find yourself somebody who knows what these basic elements are that you can add to your website and get them added and test it. And then you should just basically be looking to ongoing test different little individual things. Add the Made in USA to your website if it's not there. Wait for 90 days, see how that worked. Then once you confirmed it worked, add another thing and add another element. And the money that you're making from the first element that you added now can go to make sure you can add something else. And invest in other things that you can mention so that you can get your product featured on TV, take that feature, put it on your website, and that now increases your sales. And you just keep going through these elements one by one by one. But that is specifically a great example within 12 months, how much our sales were affected on a fairly mature Google Ads campaign just by adding these simple elements to our website. And like I said before, if you don't, that's just one way to make your conversion rates go up using conversion rate optimization. The other is just creating different landing pages. And for a lot of you e-commerce guys, you'd be better off using landing pages because that will typically get you a much higher conversion rate. So instead of sending people to the water filter page on your website, that is the normal product page on your Shopify site, you set up a dedicated sales page which sells the product, in which if they want to buy, they now click through to go to your product. People don't want to do this because it's hard or whatever. They don't think it works. Trust me, it works. It works a lot. And especially since you can make different pages for based upon who they are, what they searched for, that always is going to increase your conversion rate. And at a certain point in time, it's easier to do that to get you to the next level in terms of your sales and profit growth than just trying to micromanage your traffic stream. And so what you're really looking to do is make your traffic, like I mentioned before, streamlined to a certain minimum level, then get into the website stuff. The website stuff is going to take you a lot further than trying to keep hyper-focusing on the traffic stream itself, because you'll get diminishing returns on it. You want the traffic stream to be to a certain minimum level and then get into the on-site CRO stuff. As long as the website's not so horrible that you absolutely cannot get almost any sales at all because the website is just too bad, and then you focus on that first. But with that said, I'm going to wrap it up with that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. If you want to see another video, click here. It is one of my best ones.